It is finally baseball season here at Clubhouse Gas. We've been spending a lot of time on lacrosse. Time to get back to the diamond. It's a beautiful sunny day, and we've spent a lot of time with pitchers. Well, today we're going to talk with Brandon Smith. He's a catching expert. He's played at every level, all the way up to AAA, and he's going to talk with us about how to start preparing your young catchers at each individual level, 9 and 10, 11 and 12, and 13 and 14. It's a very informative episode of Clubhouse Gas, so stay tuned. We're fortunate enough now to be joined by a friend of the show, Brandon Smith. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
We talk a lot, and we've had some different pitching coaches on from the beginning all the way to the highest level about how to prepare your pitchers, what the right pitches to throw are, especially at what age. We don't talk a lot about catching, and especially how to develop a catcher from the young age up. What I want to talk today about is, when do you start working on what? Right. So I guess we could start at, if I have a kid who's a 9 or 10-year-old catcher, all right, what's the number one thing we need to focus on with that kid?
The big thing at the 9 and 10-year-old age group is that the guys are able to receive the ball. They're able to catch the ball, give pitchers a good target, and to be a good receiver back behind the plate. Now, at 9 and 10, it's also going to be important that they're able to block the ball and keep the ball in front, because that is such a big part of that game, being able to control the running game. And most of the running game at that age is when we have pass balls or wild pitches. So
the fundamental thing, if you're going to try to do an over/under on a 9 and 10-year-old game, is how far is the backstop from the plate.
Exactly. So we're able to keep that ball in front of the catcher, then we're able to manage the base running game a little bit. So those are the two primary things at that age, is being able to catch the ball and block the ball. A kid that you look for to do that, as far as their mentality or their makeup, is a good athlete, a guy who can play a little bit. He doesn't necessarily have to be the best athlete on the field, but a guy that can move a little bit. If you have a big guy, that's great. But I think even more important than the physical makeup is the heart or the mind of this kid. This kid's got to be aggressive, and he's got to really want to get back here, because not everybody wants to get hit by the ball. Right. So to be a good catcher, be able to block, you got to have that toughness, or that a little bit craziness that you may find in some 9 and 10-year-olds.
As far as thinking goes, though, at the 9 and 10-year-old level, you're really wanting them to set up in the middle of the plate, just provide a target. They're not going to be calling pitches or handling pitchers or anything like that.
Exactly. We want to make sure they give a good target. The coaches, for the most part, will call pitches, if there are even pitches to be called.
Right.
A lot of pitchers may just have a fastball. Certainly they'll need that. They may have a changeup, but for the most part, yeah, we want to give them a big, wide target and put themselves in a position to receive the ball.
So receiving the baseball and making sure it stays in front of you.
Right.
Then we move to the next level. They get to 11 and 12-year-old ball, and you have, in this area at least, we have two different levels of 11 and 12-year-old ball. There's a level where they're leading off and stealing.
Right.
And there's a level where they're not. Where does that change as far as moving up a little and starting to teach them a little bit more?
Well, sure. Again, in that aspect, then we've got the running game becoming more predominant. So at that level, it's very important that the catcher back here can throw to the bases, to throw runners out at second and to throw them out at third. And that, a lot of times, the technique, the footwork that is taught there will help catchers improve their overall arm strength, improve their overall success when they're trying to control this running game.
So it's not just arm strength and arm accuracy, but footwork.
Exactly, yeah. What I want to try to teach my guys when I work with them is efficiency. You can have a kid with a great arm, but if he's slow coming out, the overall time is going to be slower than possibly a kid who has less of an arm, but is quicker and he's more efficient in the way that he receives the ball and the way that he transitions into the throwing position.
It always amazes me how different sports translate into each other. I have the same exact problem with my quarterbacks when I'm coaching football. Get the strongest arm in the world and the most accurate arm in the world, but their footwork's terrible. And I find myself just working on footwork. So we've got footwork and throwing, and then we get to the 13 and 14-year-old age.
Now, 13, 14-year-old age, we're preparing for high school, and by that time, they need to be pretty well versed at the whole package. They got to be good receivers. They got to know how to frame pitches, which is a little bit of a higher level of just catching the ball. They've got to be outstanding blocking the ball, and there's some technique at the higher levels that they can just get to where they're lights out behind the plate. throwing the ball. I want them to be a dominant force controlling the running game. And then there's other plays such as blocking home plate. On this plate, the plate where the guys get big enough to really get hurt, I want my catcher in a safe position so he doesn't get hurt, but I also want him in a position where we can block home plate to where we save this run and pick up and out. So there becomes more, some more defensive aspects to that as well.
And what about handling pitchers?
At that age, it's vital. If you get a guy back here who has a good rapport with that pitcher, not just with the pitcher, but the entire defense, then you've got a leader, you've got a guy who can continue to play. What happens in baseball, it's often said that 8 guys have their eyes in on one guy. So if my catcher back here, who all eyes are on a given play, is hustling, if he's giving max effort, if he's doing what he needs to do, now he's leading by example.
Right.
He's going to be calling plays. As far as at that age, he's going to be handling the pitcher for the most part. He's going to be setting batters up. He's going to be helping pitchers out, knowing what is his most effective pitch that day. He's also going to be calling bunt plays. You know, if there's a bunt and the play's going to first, he's yelling first, or 1-1-1. Plays at the plate, he's calling cutoff plays. He's doing the whole deal. So at that age, it's important that you're 13, 14, and on up, that those catchers have a good head on their shoulder, they got a great attitude, and they'll work hard for you.
Well, Brandon, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We really hope that you'll come back and maybe take us through some of the more practical applications of how to start instilling these different traits in your young catchers.
Absolutely, love to.
That's going to do it for us today. He's Brandon, I'm Casey, and we'll see you right back here next time for another great edition of Clubhouse Gas.